Running the hotel was more than just a job to me. It was my passion, my very life. My name is Stephanie, and this hotel was my kingdom. That is, until he arrived. He walked in one evening with an undeniable presence, young, dressed in a sharp suit, his attention absorbed by the glow of his high-end smartphone. He checked in with a dazzling smile that lit up the room. "Good evening, I'm Walter," he said, his voice smooth like velvet. "I'm here for a few nights. Is there anything interesting around here?" His charm caught me off guard, and I found myself smiling back before I could stop myself. "Well, Walter, the city has plenty to offer. It just depends on what you're interested in." I handed him his room key, our brief conversation igniting something inside me. Maybe it was his genuine curiosity, or how he hung on every word I said. His stay was short, but when he checked out, he left a note. "Enjoyed our talk. How about continuing it over dinner?" I hesitated. I wasn't used to mixing business with pleasure, but something about him made me second-guess my usual rules. We met later that evening at a cozy local restaurant where the hum of conversation and clink of glasses wrapped around us like a warm embrace. "You know this place well, don't you, Stephanie?" he asked with a playful smile as we settled into our seats. I laughed, surprised by how relaxed I felt. "Guess you could say I've had some practice," I replied. Dinner flew by as we shared everything, from light-hearted stories of everyday life to deeper, more meaningful experiences. Walter was surprisingly open, revealing tales of his travels and business ventures. As the conversation shifted toward me, I found myself opening up more than I ever expected. I told him about losing my parents and how it had been just me and my sister Amy against the world since I was 23. "That's a heavy burden to carry," Walter said, his gaze softening with a mix of admiration and something deeper I couldn't place. "You must be incredibly strong." I shrugged off the compliment. "We all play the hand we're dealt. Amy's always been my priority. Our parents left us a little something, and I've been careful with it, growing it bit by bit." Walter nodded thoughtfully. "That's impressive. You've got a good head on your shoulders." As the night wore on, I realized how much I had been laughing, something that had become rare for me lately. But every time I tried to ask about his family, Walter skillfully steered the conversation away. "My folks and I don't see eye to eye," he said with a shadow crossing his face. "Let's just say they have their ideas about life, and I have mine." I didn't press further. We all have our scars, after all. As the evening drew to a close, I found myself not wanting it to end. There was something about Walter that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. Life with Walter was a whirlwind, each day filled with new adventures and shared laughter. He had a way of turning the simplest moments into something extraordinary, making even an ordinary dinner feel like a special event. One evening, as we sat at our favorite cafe, bathed in the soft glow of dim lights, I shared my thoughts with him. "I still can't believe how quickly everything is moving," I admitted. Walter reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "Stephanie, when something feels right, why wait? I've never been more certain of anything in my life." His gaze was intense, and my heart raced. "I know, but everything's happening so fast. It's a lot to take in," I confess, my voice trembling with emotion. Walter squeezed my hand reassuringly. "I get it, but trust me, Stephanie, I'm here for the long haul. I want to build a life with you, a future together." His words filled me with excitement, especially as he spoke of our wedding day with such enthusiasm. He envisioned a grand, unforgettable celebration, one that would be the talk of the town. "Imagine it, Stephanie," he said, his eyes sparkling. "A ceremony that no one will forget. It's going to be perfect." As he spoke, my heart raced, excited yet nervous. When he mentioned the honeymoon, I couldn't help but ask, "You mentioned the most luxurious hotel in the world." Walter's smile widened. "Yes, it's all part of the plan. I need you to trust me. Your savings for the wedding, my funds for the honeymoon, and our future home. It will all come together." Despite the practical side of me urging caution, the love in his eyes and the promise in his words convinced me to take the leap. "Okay, Walter, let's do it. Let's make this wedding unforgettable." The weeks flew by as wedding preparations took over our lives. Walter, ever the man of action, managed every detail with precision, from the guest list to the extravagant menu. Watching him work with such passion, I found myself falling even deeper in love. "Walter, you're incredible. How do you handle everything?" I marveled. His smile was knowing, but it was his eyes, full of love and commitment, that made my heart soar. I knew for better or worse, everything was about to change forever. I don't know how to thank you, I said one evening as we reviewed the wedding plans. Walter pulled me close, wrapping me in his embrace. Seeing you happy is all the thanks I need, he whispered. This wedding is just the start. Our life together will be even more beautiful. His words should have comforted me, but sometimes doubts would creep in like quiet whispers in the back of my mind. Was everything moving too fast? Was I just caught up in the whirlwind of romance? Whenever those thoughts surfaced, Walter's reassuring presence anchored me, his promises steadying me through the storm of uncertainties. With the wedding details consuming our days, I realized how much I needed my sister Amy by my side. Since losing our parents, it had always been just the two of us against the world, and her opinion meant everything to me, especially now. I called her hoping she could take a break from the cafe she managed. Hey Amy, think you can ditch the aprons and coffee smells for some tulle and satin today? I half joked, my voice hopeful. Her familiar laughter came through the phone. For you sis, I'd trade coffee stains for bridal trains any day. Give me an hour to wrap things up here, and I'm all yours. The bridal shop was a dream, a world of gowns in shades of white and ivory, each one more beautiful than the last. As I tried on different dresses, Amy's presence kept me grounded. When I stepped out of the dressing room in a gown that felt just right, she was the first to speak. That one, Tiffany, it's like it was made for you, she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Looking at my reflection, I felt something stir inside. The dress hugged my curves and cascaded to the floor in a delicate flow of fabric. I don't know, like a real bride, I admitted, a smile spreading across my face. Amy's grin widened. Absolutely, you look stunning. This is the one. Her approval was all I needed, solidifying my choice and reinforcing the idea that amidst the whirlwind of preparations, some things, like my bond with my sister, remained my steady foundation. But then, in a fleeting moment, I noticed a shadow cross Amy's face, subtle but unsettling. Before I could ask about it, she quickly grabbed another dress from the rack. Mind if I try this one on, just for fun? She asked, her fingers brushing over a gown that shimmered with every movement. I chuckled, a mixture of surprise and delight. Planning to elope, or is there a mystery bee you've not told me about? I teased. Amy's laughter was light but held a trace of something elusive. Oh, Tiffany, you know how it is. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But a girl can dream, right? She said with a wink, her eyes darting away. Though the rest of the day was filled with laughter and the soft rustle of silk, Amy's mood seemed to shift unpredictably. Her usual vibrant energy would occasionally fade, and moments of distraction overtook her. Everything okay, Amy? You seem a little off, I asked, concern creeping into my voice. She waved it off, brushing away my worry with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Nothing, just the usual cafe chaos, she reassured me, but I could tell it wasn't just that. As we left the bridal shop, a shadow of unspoken tension hung between us, making it hard to ignore. I hoped it was just pre-wedding jitters or perhaps a minor squabble with a difficult customer, but something told me it was more. Later that evening, as I lay in bed, excitement about the dress was overshadowed by the enigma of Amy's behavior. She had always been open with me, yet now it felt as though there were chapters of her life she wasn't sharing. I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was troubling her. I hadn't noticed the words hidden beneath the surface, the ones that, in the midst of wedding planning, seemed to slip away from view. Normally, the approaching celebration would have filled me with joy, but instead, unease clouded my heart. Amy and I have faced many storms together, but now it felt as if a chasm was opening between us, an empty space filled with secrets and unspoken questions. Little did I know, the answers to these questions would soon shatter everything I thought I knew. It started as an ordinary day. I was in the kitchen when I noticed Walter's phone left unattended on the counter, buzzing incessantly with notifications. Curiosity took over, and to my surprise, there was no password, no lock to protect it. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found within his messages. The exchange between Walter and Amy hit me like a physical blow. Each message felt like a cruel knife wound, cutting deeper into my chest. They weren't just having an affair. They were plotting to remove me from the life I thought I shared with Walter, as though I was nothing. As if our years of friendship meant nothing at all. My eyes blurred with tears as I read Amy's message. Can't believe we pulled this off. She's such a fool, falling for every lie. And now, with the baby, we can finally be together as we planned. The room seemed to spin around me, a dizzying carousel of lies and betrayal. Walter's responses were just as crushing, each word a confirmation of my worst fear. She's just a knave cash cow. Can't wait to be rid of her and start our real life. Frozen, I stared at the phone, the weight of it heavy in my hand. A whirlwind of emotions crashed over me: betrayal, anger, disbelief. But beneath it all, a steely resolve began to form. A cold determination. They thought they could manipulate me, dispose of me like some forgotten object, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. When Walter strolled in, his easygoing demeanor felt like an insult. "Hey babe, did I miss any important calls?" he asked, picking up his phone nonchalantly. I swallowed the storm brewing inside me, masking my turmoil with a calm smile. "Nope, just the usual busy day," I replied, my voice steady though every part of me screamed to confront him. He flashed that charming smile, the one I now realized was nothing but a mask. "But nothing's more important than coming back to you," he said, leaning in for a kiss. I nearly recoiled, but I forced myself to stay composed. In that moment, I played the part of the perfect fiancé, hiding the chaos within, knowing that the confrontation would come soon enough. I smiled and nodded, going through the motions of wedding planning, but beneath the surface, a storm of revenge brewed relentlessly. Every day was a battle to maintain my composure, while secretly plotting against the two who had wronged me so deeply. I was determined not to let them see me crumble. I would wait for the perfect moment to reveal their betrayal, and when that time came, it would be devastating. Each night, as I lay in bed, the images of Walter and Amy's deceitful faces haunted me. I silently vowed they would pay dearly for their actions. Their twisted game would ultimately be their undoing. I had transformed from the jilted fiancé into the mastermind of their downfall. My plan for revenge was meticulous, calculated, and destined to be sweetly devastating. The days leading up to the wedding were surreal. On the surface, everything appeared perfect: the flowers, the guest list, the dress. But beneath this polished facade was a tempest of anger and betrayal that I controlled with precision. Walter remained blissfully ignorant, all smiles and affection. "Stephanie, everything's coming together so beautifully. This wedding is going to be the talk of the town," he remarked one evening as we went over the final plans. I nodded, my smile flawless, yet heavy with hidden meaning. "Yes, it's going to be a day to remember," I agreed, my voice steady but carrying a deeper, unspoken promise. Facing Amy was more challenging. The sister I had once loved and protected now felt like a stranger. Every word, every action was a reminder of the betrayal she had inflicted. Yet, I kept up the facade, the mask of the loving sister, blissfully unaware of the knife she had plunged into my back. "Stephanie, you're handling everything so well. I don't know how you do it," Amy commented one day as we finalized the seating arrangements. I looked at her, the sister I thought I knew, and forced a laugh. "Oh, Amy, you know me. Always had a knack for organizing chaos," I replied, the irony of my words not lost on me. As the wedding day drew closer, the tension became almost palpable. I walked this tightrope of control with precision and care. Walter's phone was now always guarded, his conversations more hushed and hurried, but it didn't matter. I had seen enough, and I knew enough. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright, a beautiful day for a beautiful disaster. As I got ready, my reflection in the mirror showed a bride serene and poised, but behind the veil and makeup was a woman on a mission, a woman who would no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. "Amy is running late, huh?" Walter remarked casually, adjusting his tie. I met his gaze in the mirror, my eyes revealing nothing. "Yes," I replied simply, ready to let the day unfold. She assured me she wouldn't miss the event for anything in the world. The words held a double meaning, but he missed the underlying tone and simply nodded, acknowledging her whimsical nature. "But today is about us, Stephanie," he said, turning to face me with a smile that made my skin crawl. "It marks a fresh start for us." I smiled back, perfectly composed, my voice calm but laced with an edge of finality. "Indeed, Walter, a new beginning," I responded, my heart bracing for the inevitable upheaval. As I made my way down the aisle, the watchful eyes of our friends and family upon me, I could feel the pivotal moment approaching. The quiet that had enveloped my life was about to erupt into a storm. The ceremony was set, the guests' attention fixed, and the scene was perfect. Everything was poised for hidden truths to emerge and the real drama to unfold. Standing next to Walter in front of the officiant, my heart wavered between hope and anxiety. The vows floated between us, promises of eternity that seemed doomed to break spectacularly. The guests, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, watched with smiles and misty eyes, oblivious to the chaos that was about to unfold. Then the unforeseeable happened. Amy appeared in a wedding dress identical to mine, striding down the aisle with a resolve that froze my blood. "Step aside, Stephanie. It's me who truly belongs here. Walter loves me, and this child I carry is his," she announced, her voice slicing through the stunned silence. The room descended into murmurs and gasps of disbelief. But instead of expressing shock or remorse, Walter erupted into laughter, revealing his true nature behind his polished exterior. "Well said, Amy. Stephanie, you've played your part well, but it's time you joined the audience. This is Amy's moment now," he declared, his words dripping with scorn. The audacity of their betrayal, so openly displayed, sent ripples through the crowd. But as the weight of the situation began to sink in, my response stunned everyone, including myself. I turned to Walter and then to Amy, offering a serene smile. "Of course, why not? I wouldn't want to miss the spectacle, especially since I funded it," I remarked, my tone cool, betraying none of the chaos swirling inside me. Amy and Walter exchanged puzzled looks, clearly unprepared for such a collected reaction. The guests were equally confused, their eyes flicking between us, trying to make sense of the surreal turn of events. I calmly took my seat among the guests, my composure intact. The whispers around me intensified. "What's she planning? Is she really going to let this happen?" The questions buzzed incessantly, but I remained tranquil, a pillar of calm amidst the unfolding chaos. Walter and Amy, now together at the altar, appeared unsettled. My calm demeanor had disrupted their plan to humiliate and discard me, and they didn't know how to respond. "What's your angle, Stephanie? Why are you so calm?" Walter asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and unease. I met his gaze, my smile unwavering. "No angle, Walter. I'm merely enjoying the fruits of my labor. Please continue. I'm keen to see how this unfolds." I responded with a silken yet piercing retort, the words cutting through the tension. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had irrevocably shifted. Guests remained frozen, caught between astonishment and anticipation, unsure whether they were witnessing a wedding or the prelude to a dramatic confrontation. As Amy and Walter exchanged their vows, their words seemed hollow, an empty farce, a mockery of the sacred pledge they were meant to uphold. Sitting among my friends and family, all equally baffled by the unfolding drama, I realized this was just the beginning of what promised to be a spectacular unraveling. Amy and Walter, blinded by their own arrogance, were unknowingly seated at the premiere of their own downfall. Just as the officiant asked if there were any objections to the marriage, the doors flew open. A woman entered, older, weathered, her eyes alight with fiery determination. "Stop this wedding immediately," she commanded, her voice sharp and commanding. The stunned silence in the room was pierced by her words. Walter's complexion drained to a ghostly white, his expression morphing from shock to disbelief. "Helen, what are you doing here?" he faltered, the polished facade of the perfect groom crumbling away. Helen, as I had recently discovered, was none other than Walter's legal wife. She strode to the altar, her presence unwavering. "I'm here to prevent you from embarrassing yourself further," she declared, her voice steady and resolute, "and to give everyone the truth they deserve. Stephanie, especially, you deserve the truth." Whispers filled the room as the scandal unfurled before them, more captivating than any daytime drama. Amy, clutching her stomach in shock, watched as Helen continued, her tone unrelenting. "Walter is a charlatan and a fraud. He's drowning in debt, his investments have collapsed, and he's been exploiting all of you to claw his way out of financial ruin. And Amy, you poor thing, you're just another pawn in his deceitful game." The room erupted into chaos, guests rising from their seats, whispers turning into shouts. Walter attempted to speak, but his feeble excuses were lost in the uproar. I stood, my heart racing, yet my voice remained firm. "There's more," I announced, immediately silencing the crowd. After suspecting Walter's infidelity, I hired a private investigator. Not only is Walter already married and buried in debt, but he's also been hiding the existence of a daughter he's never supported. Amy's face crumbled, her gaze locking onto Walter as she begged, "Tell me she's lying." Walter, utterly defeated, remained silent. His double life, once carefully concealed, was exposed for all to see. But the climax was yet to come. As the crowd digested these bombshells, Walter's parents, stern, imposing figures, entered the room. I had informed them of everything, and now they were here to face the son who had dishonored their family. Walter's father, typically reserved, now spoke with a tone thick with anger and disappointment. Walter, you were no son of mine. Your actions today and all that came before it reveal your true character. You were cut off from our family and our wealth. A heavy silence fell over the room. I surveyed the scene. Walter, Amy, and their shattered illusions built on lies and deceit. The state of betrayal pulsed through me, but standing there amidst the ruins of what should have been my happiest day, I knew my story was far from over. In the days that followed, I found myself navigating the cold, clinical corridors of the courthouse, seeking compensation for the chaos Walter had wrought. The courtroom, stark in contrast to the church, turned my agony into cold, hard legal terms. Walter, you've not only broken promises but shattered trust and exploited kindness. You owe far more than apologies, I concluded, my voice steady, prepared to fight for justice and closure. In the hushed courtroom, I stood resolute, my voice unwavering as I declared, you owe me more than an apology, Walter. You owe me compensation for the upheaval you caused in my life. The judge's gavel struck, resonating like thunder in the tense silence, sealing the verdict. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is hereby ordered to pay $90,000 in damages for the emotional distress and financial losses inflicted. The words, though a soothing balm to my frayed spirits, did not heal all the wounds. I knew the path to true healing had just begun. But Walter's troubles didn't end with the court's verdict. Helen, fueled by her pain and anger, initiated a legal battle of her own, seeking reparations for his betrayal and neglect of their child. Once suave and adept at manipulation, Walter now found himself ensnared in a web of his own deceit. Meanwhile, Amy, my sister, the one I once cherished above all, was left alone, isolated and abandoned. Walter had deserted the city, leaving her to deal with the fallout of their actions. Pregnant and frightened, she was a shadow of the lively girl she once was. One day, Amy approached me, tearful and desperate. Stephanie, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I'm lost. I don't know what to do, she pleaded. I looked at her, the sister I once would have done anything for, but my heart remained cold. Amy, you were my family, my blood, but what you did, it's not something I can simply forget or forgive. You chose your path, and now you must walk it, just as I am walking mine. The divide between us was more than just physical. It was a chasm filled with betrayal and pain too deep to ever bridge again. Life moved on, but the scars from those tumultuous months lingered. I focused on rebuilding my life, finding solace in the simple joys I had once cherished. I had loved and lost, trusted and been betrayed, but through it all, I had endured. As I reflected on everything that had transpired, I realized that the most significant journey was the one unfolding within me, a journey of healing, of rediscovering my strength, and of learning to trust and love once more.